ba ba bop, ba ba bop, ba ba bop, ba da bop bop bop. Doodle Bible School. Here we are together again to doodle the Bible, stick it in our brain, and help us not to forget it. Doodle Bible School. Thank you for being here. As you know, we have been navigating Numbers. And we're getting closer to the end of this story, my friends. But in fact, we're knocking on the door of the Promised Land right now. But you might recall that during the course of the book of Numbers, we have a lot has transpired. And one of the biggest things that has transpired is that God made this decree that anybody who was alive during the time of the rebellion, which is when they first went up to the promised land and they were about to go in and take it over. They had actually sent spies into the promised land, and 10 of those spies came back and said, oh, we can't do this. Two of them said, oh, yeah, we can. Well, God was so upset with them because he had shown them so many miracles between that time and prior all the way back to Egypt. He was so upset with them. He said, okay, there ain't none of you going to see the promised land except for Joshua and Caleb. They were the faithful ones, the faithful spies. And so we've spent the last 40 years, even though it didn't seem like it, we've spent the last 40 years wandering around the wilderness in various places, and that generation died off. Now the children of that generation are about to go in. All right, folks. Segment number one, as you might recall, is Do the Doodle. So I need all of you to get yourself a piece of paper or something, a pencil, whatever, and we're fixing to doodleate. It's another one of those hard ones. I don't know why Gabriel does this to me, but he's a talented young man, but he does this. You know, does it seem a little dark in here to you guys? I think maybe my problem is my light. Oh, dear, we don't need that. I turned out a light instead of turning it on. That's a little bit better. All right, here we go. Now, you might recall as we have been reviewating that we go all the way back to chapter 21 in this semester. But we're up now to chapter 27. 27. Let's go back one chapter to chapter 26, okay? And you might recall last time we had a census. And we counted the people, especially those folks who were old enough to go to war, go to battle, because we're fixing to go in and conquer this promised land, right? Well, in chapter 27, we're going to have a change of, not a complete change of leadership, but Joshua's going to step up and he's going to take over some of, you might even say a lot of, the responsibilities of leadership for the children of Israel. So what we got to do here, I'm not sure I can do this here, but Gabriel's got him the thing again. You got the dude. I think that's supposed to be Moses. How's that? That's a skinny version of Moses, but I think he's okay. All right, now Moses has got to have his arm out here, okay? So we're going to put his arm out there like that. That's not too bad, yeah. And he is going to be forming. How do we do that? Oh, that's the shadow. Yeah, that's what it is. All right, so you see how this goes? So here's the two, and then here's his shadow that's coming out. That doesn't look right. What did I do wrong here? There goes that. Oh, I see it. I see what I done did wrong there. Okay, so what we have here is, this is his arm, and then I forgot, he's got a stick here. That's his staff. That's what that is. Okay. All right, so here's your two. We got to make this shadow a little bit bigger. All right, here's your two, guys. Can you guys see the two now? Let's not make this shadow quite so big, and maybe it'll show up a little bit better. Yeah, that's supposed to be the two right here. I'm not very good at this, am I? I know you guys are laughing at. All right, and then you got the 7. And the 7 is actually, well, this is going to be really bad. This is actually Joshua, and he's kind of bowing his head here, okay? And he's got a sword in his hand, I guess. I don't think there's any guessing about it. I'm pretty sure that is a sword. How did that look? I'm sorry, Joshua. I didn't mean to make fun of you, buddy. But anyhow. All right. There's the 7. Everybody got that? All right, there's your 7. And it's supposed to be Joshua bowing down. Okay, and I didn't get him fat enough, so he's not up in here. Oh dear. Anyhow, there's your 7. Everybody got it? 26. Pay attention to Gabriel's. Mine is horrible. Oh my. Anyhow, 27. Joshua becomes leader. We'll talk about this more here in just a moment, but this story is basically where we're going to see they're about to go into the promised land. And remember, Moses isn't going, right? Nope, Moses is not going. And the reason he's not going is because he sinned back in the wilderness. God told him to speak to the rock. He hit it out of anger. And God said, okay, because you tried to upstage me, you're not going to get to go in. Now, we are going to see at the beginning of chapter 27 that he actually does climb to the top of a mountain and he is able to see the promised land. Probably with the miraculous gift of God, was able to actually look and see with better eyesight than an old man would have. And he was able to see the promised land where his people would go and inherit. But Moses doesn't get to go. All right. Oh, that's a horrible picture. Oh, what do you do? All right, moving on. So in chapter 27, I would ask you these questions. What is the theme of Numbers 27? Joshua becomes leader. Okay, now he doesn't completely take over at this particular point, but he's stepping up and he's going to become more of a leader. And can you doodle the picture? No, not really. Oh, dear. Here's my buddy with the big eye. Bug-eyed Bill. Maybe we could call him Bug-eyed Bill. How's that? I like that, actually. Why did the man only sing in the car if he was going in reverse? I sing in the car sometimes, but generally it's when I'm by myself so nobody else can hear me because I'm not a good singer. But I don't sing when I'm going in reverse because I'm a little nervous I'm going to hit something. But this old dude, he only sang going in reverse. Why is that the guy only sang going in reverse? Well, I'll tell you why. It's because he was a backup singer. Go ahead and laugh, because that was hilarious. He only sings when he goes in reverse because he's a backup singer. I wonder if he has one of those little beep beep beep. You ever hear one of those big trucks, a dump truck or something back up? Beep beep beep, and he's singing along with the beep beep. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Segment number 2. This is where we have already done our doodle, so we're going to make a memory with our brain. So my brain's over there. He's exercising. Here's your memory verse, folks. It's not as long as it looks. I broke it up into little phrases because I thought it might be easier to memorize this way. Can you guys see it? So the Lord, so the Lord, so the Lord, so the Lord, so the Lord. Said to Moses, 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 said to Moses. So the Lord said to Moses, yes he did. So the Lord said to Moses, we already got the first 2 lines. Take Joshua, the son of Nun, a man in whom is the Spirit, and lay your hand on him. And so this is Joshua is being selected, and Moses is going to put his hand on him, and he's going to give him some of the responsibility, some of the authority that Moses has had. But that's your memory verse, okay? So say it 5 times each line, and look at there. You're going to have it stuck in your right there in your brain. And if you don't have it stuck in your brain at that particular point, you can always leave blanks. So the Lord said to Moses, take Joshua, the son of Nun, a man in whom is the Spirit, and maybe place your hand on him. I think it's either place or put. Let's go back and find out. Lay. It wasn't either one of them. And lay your hand on him. All right, so there you go, guys. See how simple that is? And by the time you get it done, look at there. You have got a memory verse for Numbers chapter 27. So proud of you. All right, so if I were to ask you a question, maybe even 2, these would be the questions that I would ask upon you. Joshua was the son of whom? That's a joke my dad used to tell all the time. Joshua had no parents. How do you know that? Because he was the son of Nun. And you laugh at that point because it's supposed to be funny. Anyhow, evidently his dad's name was Nun. So, Joshua was the son of Nun. And can you quote the memory verse? No, but we got a long way into it. Here's my buddy with the lollipop. All right. Why couldn't the pirate finish the alphabet? Arg. This pirate's having trouble saying the alphabet, had the trouble all of his life, never could finish the alphabet. Do you know why the pirate couldn't finish the alphabet? I'll tell you why. He couldn't finish the alphabet because he got lost at sea. A, B, C, I am lost. I can't tell you any more of the letters. Actually, that's spelled C as in the ocean where the pirates are, and that kind of thing. I thought it was a pretty funny one. That's why I went ahead and put it right in here. Okay, here we go. Segment number trace. Ponder a passage. That's where we take and we sit by the pond and we ponderate. And we think about the passage. This is where we get into a little more detail about the passage. And you'll notice that I've underlined several things. And so these are the things that will be on your test. The Lord said to Moses, go up into this mountain of Abiram and see the land that I have given to the people of Israel. So I told you in the introduction that Moses isn't going to get to go in, but he does get to see the land. So God sends him up this mountain and he looks over and he sees the land. And it says, when you have seen it, you shall be gathered to your people. So there's evidently several things that are going to happen between now and then. But God is saying, okay, it's the coming point. I want you to go up the mountain, look over the land, see all that your people are going to inherit, and then you're going to die. And we learned from another place that God's actually going to bury Moses at the top of the mountain. All right, so number one, he tells him to go to the top of the mountain so he can see the land that is going to be given to the people. And then what's going to happen right after that? He's going to die. Verse 15, Moses spoke to the Lord saying, let the Lord, the God of the spirits of all flesh, appoint a man over the congregation who shall go out before them and come in before them, who shall lead them out and bring them in, that the congregation, Lord, may not be as sheep that have no shepherd. And so Moses says, if I'm going to die, please, Lord, will you appoint somebody else to take over for me? Verse 18, so the Lord said to Moses, take Joshua, the son of Nun, a man in whom is the Spirit. So the thing that's special about Joshua is that he has the Spirit of God in him. And that's important if he's going to lead God's people, right? And so that's the question. What was unique? What was special about Joshua? He was a man in whom is the Spirit. And he said, lay your hand on him, make him stand before Eleazar the priest and all the congregation, and you shall commission him in their sight. So you're going to appoint him in their sight. You shall invest him with some of your authority. Notice that it's some of your authority. He doesn't get all of his authority at this particular point because Moses isn't gone yet. But some of the authority of Moses is going to be passed down to Joshua. That all the congregation, so he's got this authority. What's that mean? Well, all the congregation of the people of Israel may obey him. And he shall stand before Eleazar the priest and shall inquire for him by the judgment of the Urim before the Lord. At his word they shall go out, and at his word they shall come in, both he and all the people of Israel with him, the whole congregation. So what is the authority that Joshua is receiving at this point? Basically to lead the people. Notice what it says. At his word, when he says so, we'll go. When he says so, we'll come in. So that's the authority that he's going to have. So there's your 5 questions. Let me just put them up here in plain English so you can see them a little bit better. There are your questions for this particular lesson. What did God allow Moses to do at the top of the mountain? See Israel, or the promised land. What did God say would happen to Moses after he did that at the top of the mountain? He was going to die. What was special about Joshua? He had the Spirit of God in him. Well, how much authority did Joshua get from Moses? Only a part of it. And Joshua was to have the authority to decide what? When they went in and when they came out. All right, here's my spinny face friend. That's hard to say, spinny face friend. Why did the deer have to get braces? Mama deer says to baby deer, sorry dear, you got to get braces, dear. Hey dear. You know what baby said? Oh dear. That's not the joke. Why did the deer have to get braces? He had to get braces because he had buck teeth. Get it? A male deer is called a buck. I guess this was a male deer because he had buck teeth. I like that one, actually. All right. Apply the why. Doing. Apply the why. This is where we are going to look and say to ourselves, okay, that passage, what do I relate to? What is it that, I look at that and say, oh, yeah, I understand that. Okay, well, here it is. I'll just put it right here on the screen and you can see it for yourself. This idea of you shall invest him with some of your authority. In other words, Moses isn't gone yet, and so Joshua isn't going to take over, but he has some of his authority. My question is, did you ever have someone give you part of their authority? I don't know if you're the oldest child or not, but let's say you're the oldest child and your parents have to go real quick. They got to make a run to the hospital or something. They say, hey, we're only going to be gone 20 minutes. And so you're in charge while we're gone. Now, if you're in charge while they're gone, does that make you the parent? No. But it does give you some of their authority, right? Well, that's kind of what happens here. Moses is saying to Joshua, you're going to have some of my authority. So the question I've got for you is, did that ever happen to you? When? And what part of the authority did you get? All right. Here's my buddy Thomas watching all the way over there from Kenya. Thank you, Thomas, for tuning in. I love you, brother. Appreciate your work over there in Kenya. All right, so the test questions for the end of the week will be this. This one. Did you ever have someone give you part of their authority? And if so, what part of the authority did they give to you? My mom and dad are getting older. In fact, my dad's birthday is tomorrow. He's going to be 86. And several years ago, they said, Sonny, we're struggling to keep our budget straight and various things. So we'd like for you to have part of the authority over our budget. And so I have to be in charge of some of those spending things. But that doesn't make me mom and dad. It doesn't replace them. It just means that I've got part of their authority. So there's one of my stories. Now you tell me one of yours when you were given part of the authority. All right, here's Big Tooth Bob. I'm not sure if we call him that, but I did just now. Big Tooth Bob comes onto the screen and he says, why did the man not trust the trees? I got a lot of trees here in my house, and I don't know that I have any reason not to trust them, but this guy clearly did not. Why did the man not trust the trees? Well, they seemed a little shady. Get it? Trees provide shade, and they're shady. Oh, dear. I don't know. Sometimes sometimes I laugh at myself for saying stuff. All right, here's Frank. Terrified Frank. There he is, right there. It's time to test, and old Frank says, oh dear, no, test. We can't test. I don't know it. Well, Frank, if you'd pay attention, you'd get all the information. All right, time to test, folks. Here is the test for this coming week. There you go. Chapter 27. The book is Numbers. What's the theme? Excuse me, can you doodle it? Joshua was the son of whom? Anyhow, you get it all the way down there to the last question. Did you ever have someone give you part of their authority? What part? There you go, 10 questions. And you guys can do this. I know you can because I believe in you and you're like crazy brilliant. That was fun. Thanks for being here. I'm Sonny Childs. Who are you? You don't have to answer that because I can't hear you. But you can if you want to. Be there. Matthew 16:26.